to welcome everybody back for a special message from the host, a Santa Cop edition. I want to thank Chris Hawkins. He motivated me to finally do this episode. It's long overdue. But first, I want to welcome on the co-host, Kristen Alvarado, Sergeant Kristen Alvarado. Hello.
Hi there, how are you?
Yeah, thanks for coming. You finally got on the mic.
Absolutely, thank you.
Steve, robbery detective Stephen Prince is here too.
Hey Joe, how are you doing?
Good. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Real quick, I want to tell Kristen, so can you tell the listener what your role is here in DPD?
So I'm a sergeant over internet crimes against children. We do all sexual abuse of children with a in technology nexus.
Okay, that sounds awful. Stephen, what do you do here?
I work for the robbery unit. Been there for about 9 years, and time's going by fast actually. So we work violent crimes and then serials and bank robberies. I more directly work for Megan Mulvihill, who's my partner and our team leader. So yeah,
God, I'm gonna take that out.
Yeah,
she's actually sitting here. She refuses to get on the mic, but yeah,
we'll work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's been on before. I dragged her on for another episode. I think it was Melanie Wells. She sat in on. I want to get into the program Santa Cop. It started in 1984. It is a staple here in Dallas PD in the Metroplex every year this is the 40th year. Officers, police supporters, friends, families band together, and they do this special program. And I think it's time we talk about it. So, who wants to talk about the history, how this got going in '84?
So Chuck Young, who used to be on the department, he was here for over 30 years. He started it, like you said, in 1984. From what he was telling me, he basically started it out of the trunk of his car and just kind of grew it from there, right? So
he started a lot of stuff out of the trunk of his car.
Yeah, that's probably right. And then it just kind of grew. It was a officer and community grown thing, like you were saying, which was always really cool to me. That it just basically started because he wanted to see families in need, and then they would bring in officers who had seen those families, and it touched their heart, and so they started the program, and it actually started in a couple different warehouses, and over the years it grew. Chuck actually got a couple of benefactors when it first started, and it really helped us. It really helped everybody just kind of get off the ground. Currently, we're the third iteration of Santa Cops. Jason Kennedy took it over in the mid 2000s, and he did a really good job of just kind of keeping that going with Angela, and they I can't tell you the work that they put into it back then, because it was really, sometimes you would go to like someone was donating, and we would be there for like 500 people, and then sometimes they'd be sitting in somebody's kitchen eating a meal of 5 people. It was just if someone was going to donate to us, we were going to take the time to go talk to them, and that really set a good precedent for us to keep community engagement up and continue to grow those relationships that still are beneficial now.
Can you tell the listener, whoever wants to jump in on this, tell the listener what is the criteria to be a recipient of this program, and how do you find these folks, and just can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's officer driven. So we really want to be a part of the community. It's officers that go out there answering 911 calls, and during their time, they observe a family that they feel like is in need. So it's by their discretion. It's maybe families that they have had to go in at the worst time of their life, or it could just be someone that they passed on the street. They nominate them, and we fulfill as many as we can. And if they have a choice if they would like to deliver it or not themselves, they can do that. And some officers do, and some want to remain anonymous. They just want to, the family to benefit.
Do we? I know you don't want to speak for Chuck, but did you ever hear the story of what particular call or family that kind of was the catalyst for him starting this? I'm just out of curiosity.
No, he never told me that one.
I know it exists. It has to exist. There has to be some story behind that.
Yeah, when it was small enough, I know that he would sit down and actually speak with the families when it was just barely getting started. And over the years, he trusted officers to make those decisions as far as like who they believed could receive help from Santa Cops. But I know at the very beginning, he would sit down there and talk with the families who were in need.
And now we're kind of dancing around a little bit. Can somebody just talk about what is the program's mission?
Yeah, so the program's mission, I think, is to build positive community relation, right? We oftentimes as officers have negative interactions with the public because of why we're there. There's something going on because of what's happening. And, I really think that doing this brings positive interactions. We're not going there because we were called there. We're going there because we want to show them that we care about them. We want to provide something that they may not have.
The families that are usually selected to be a part of this, they're families that are, in some cases, victims of violent crimes or other crimes that officers responded to a call. They saw the circumstances, and then that's how the referral comes. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Those are the most touching ones, actually, Joe, where they have to write a little narrative. They can be as descriptive as they want, or they can just say, yeah, I saw this family in need. But the ones where the children are severely affected, many times in homicides and other pretty serious offenses, the officer will write a little note regarding like why he believes they need help, and that's all the motivation you need to kind of keep going.
Yeah. For example, one this year was 2 kids who came home, got off the bus, and walked into their apartment and found their mother had been killed by her boyfriend, and he just left her there. So that was one of the ones that got written in this year.
How many people get written in roughly every year that y'all have to go through?
Our orders, like for this year, we totaled out at 307 orders. And that's usually it's between 250 to, I think it's been as high as 500 one year.
Yeah, we've gotten a little over 500 before, but generally it's just how many ever we get and we see. We don't push for more orders. We send it out there and say, hey, if you guys have somebody, we're open late and let us know. But what's so good about it is that we're currently at a size right now to where if it's 300 families and they're the families that are in need, we'll serve them. If it grows to 500, then we'll figure out a way to serve them too,
Yeah. And with those 300 families, so for this year, it was 841 kids just in those families. So that's how many were served.
And this is all officer driven, right? It's not any outside people telling you, hey, you should do this. This is all just internal from inside the department.
Right. We are a standalone nonprofit. Yep.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up. It's not some corporation doing this and they're steering the ship. It's y'all.
Correct.
How many children, roughly, since this, the past 40 years, have children and families has this program touched?
Man, I mean, last year was the first year that I personally counted the children of the orders that we got, the requests, and that was over 1,000. And as I said, this year was 841. But if you include, we don't just do requests from officers. We also help with the Dallas Children's Parade. We help with an officer who holds his own holiday party. We help with another officer who helps in his Asian community. So we donate toys throughout that, widows and orphans with our law enforcement group. So I'd say we serve over 1,000 children. And if you, it started small, but if you add that up over years, it's going to be thousands and thousands of kids.
Yeah. You get a referral, and can you kind of walk us through the process of, like, if there's children involved, do y'all go through some kind of process where you get like a wish list? Yeah,
so in the basically it used to be all done by hand. We had a form that was passed out and officers filled it out by hand, and Megan and Angela would have to enter all of those into a database. I mean, it was crazy. So about 2 years ago, we created a digital online form that we could send out to the officers. And so on that, they have to put, their information, the family's information, and they put basically the child's name, the child's sex, how old they are, and then there's a space where they can put a wish list if they know. And, some of these officers have just seen these families and they don't really know what they want. They just know they want to give them something. So that may say, it may have nothing, or it may just have toys. And then other officers may have actually spoken to the families and questioned, and they'll write certain things down. And we really try to fulfill those wishes if we get them. If we have a child that wants a bicycle, if we have a child that likes Spider-Man, we as officers are going through and picking out the toys for these kids. So if we see it on there, it's our mission to try to give them what they're wishing for.
Yeah, are there some cases, and I could see this happening, an officer goes out and takes a report, and as they're getting the information, doing their job in the middle of it, they're kind of looking around hours later, maybe days later, they go, damn, I really would like to put this family in. And at that point, they probably have minimal information. Do you all do some kind of follow-up in some cases and go in and talk to the families and get more information?
We have done that before with certain families, yeah.
Okay. I'll just kind of ask, you start with Sarge, go ahead. Can you talk about some stories that have kind of, really got you?
So I started in Santa Cops about 8 years ago, and I think, so a little bit of back history, I have been in crimes against children since 2014. I was a child abuse detective for 8 years before promoting to sergeant, and then I became a sergeant over child exploitation, high-risk victims, juvenile trafficking, and now, as I said earlier, I'm over ICAC. So my drive has been my passion for children and them being victims of crime, them being subjected to abuse, or even, living in domestic violence situations. So when I found out about Santa Cops, Jason Kennedy actually told me about it. He was running a lot of my warrants for child abuse. So that's how I got to know him. And I told him I was interested. He invited me out. And it was just amazing what they've built and what they're doing, providing for these kids, working out of the advocacy center as I did. I saw that, the advocates tried to do that, and the advocacy center does toy drives and things like that. But I just feel like officers are kind of in the background sometimes, and we may go to a call, and then we have to go to another call, and we have to go to another call, and we don't get to spend time with that specific family. But in a case like this, if you chose to, you could nominate them, and you could then deliver those gifts, and you can spend time with that family, and you can let them know, that we're there and that we care, and we want to do what we can to help them.
I think that kind of answers your first question, and now I think the thing that touched me the most is one year I was working over at 4838 Hatcher, right? Like the projects over there.
Yeah.
And a lady came out, and she was like, hey, and I think the Lord placed her in front of me because she didn't have any idea I was with Santa Cops, and I was just in uniform. And she walked up and she said, hey, my husband just basically lost his job, and he's been injured. Christmas is coming, and we got nothing. And I was like, hey, well, you're talking to the right person here. And we met with her. She's like, if he gets a job between now and then, I'll call you and say we don't need the help, but I'm just worried about our kids for Christmas. And that just hit me hard, So we got her hooked up for the next couple of years, and she would blow my phone up just in gratitude. And that was the big thing, is just I just had to, it's just one of those things that kind of keeps you going, just reminds you why we're here as police officers, and especially around this time of year. If anybody's wondering, Joe, does my contribution matter? If you go through some of these things, we pick up toys, and some of them are clearinghouses, right? The Margarita Ball, they do a great job every year of helping us out. And you go into those rooms, and they're big, and there's toys everywhere. Toys for Tots is a big benefactor of ours, right? And when you go into there's a giant warehouse just full of toys. Mm-hmm. So you can almost get overwhelmed and think, does my contribution really matter, or is it just they're just moving toys around. What's so great about the Santa Claus program is that from front to back is an officer will see that family in need. So they've already put eyes on those kids, right? Then they'll submit it to us, and then we're officer and civilian who work for the department driven, and then we have other volunteers, but it's largely officers and civilians that actually from DPD that work it. So when you go to the store, and many times you can pick up these toys and you're walking through our area and say, somebody actually thought about this toy. They picked it up at the store and said, man, I loved playing with this when I was younger. I bet you a little girl like me, a little boy like me would love to play with this as well. And then you can rest comforted with our program that Megan or Kristen or many of the other wonderful people that work for us will go and actually they'll take the family, they'll see the kids in need, and they'll say, yes, that would be good for this girl. And they'll pick up another toy and be like, yeah, that would be good for this boy, because largely, like Kristen was saying, we have a kind of a general understanding of what they want. So in this case, yes, your contribution matters, and since we're at the size of an organization that $50, $100, whatever it is, whatever you give, it gets used, right? Because we don't have payroll DPDs here, so everything we do, every dollar that comes in is used for the organization and the kids surrounding us. So that's, everybody wants to know, where's my money going? We have some minor expenses, but we largely rely on the kindness of others for our warehouse. The Meadows Foundation gives us that. So every dollar that we're given, like by and large, goes directly towards purchasing things for the kids.
Before we get too far into the rest of this stuff, I really kind of want to point out, Chuck Young started this, right?
Yes, sir.
And everybody that knows Chuck Young knows that he is police officer 25 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right?
That's correct.
So for him to take the time to do this, right? And Chuck Young is a huge name.
Right.
Like in the hierarchy of people that I've worked with, Chuck is probably one of the hardest workers. Then we've got, you said Jason Kennedy and Angela Nordyke.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those two are also
fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, the things that Jason's done, I don't know if I'm even allowed to talk about it. I'll leave it off the air.
Right.
Angela's record speaks for itself. She's always busy with something. She's a big-time investigator. She moved from that to being a dog handler, which is another full-time job in itself outside of work. Then you guys, you probably don't see yourselves like that yet, but Sarge, you're big, right? You've done a lot of big things.
Kind of a big deal.
No.
Yeah, she is a big deal.
You basically run 5 or 6 different units by yourself. Prince, you and your partner here, boss,
Yeah.
You guys aren't just robbery detectives, right? You're on a task force
Yes,
still?
sir. Yeah.
So, again, selling yourself short, right? Oh, I'm just a detective on the Dallas Police Department. No, you guys are a big deal, and your reputation precedes you. Like, I hear it constantly how when cases come through and you guys are looking for something, how everything is already put together so perfectly for everything. So it's not just, hey, we've got a couple cops on the department that go out there and in their spare time put toys together for kids, right? These are big officers on a big department that are very busy with their personal life, their professional life, and then you also go out there and volunteer in this aspect, and I think that's fantastic and needed to be noted.
Well, I appreciate that. I think, like you said, man, like from the beginning, Chuck set that work ethic, right? And then even Jason Kennedy and Angela, like I remember when I was on patrol when I first came onto the program, and I know Angela was going back and forth between robberies, and she was stopping by the warehouse, dropping off orders, making connections with the public, going back and working cases, coming back, and then even Jason. I remember we worked it hard for 1 year, and Saturday is our big toy drive, toy give out, right? Like he would get there like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. He'd been up late the night before buying the last minute supplies, and then we would wrap it up and we'd get storage closed as the sun's kind of going down. He'd get a call and they'd have to go out and do execute a warrant or something like that, right? I mean, it was just, with him, it was just part of the job, and that was good for me as a young officer, and as I grew into an older officer, because we're all growing gray now, is that just being able to say, yes, this is important, my job is important, but those two things can exist in the same place at the same time if you really want them to, right?
And you guys have other people that help volunteer also, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I tell the officers and detectives that are kind of on the fence on whether or not they want to help is like, look, we understand that you're an officer and that you may need to go do a warrant or go in and check on a case. We're pretty flexible with them, so that way they feel like they can, because they don't want to let their job down, but they also really want to help out. And kind of note on why we do this and how we're doing this. At the end, we do a week and a half, basically, of packing boxes and doing these families' work and with the orders, shopping. And, you're in a room with all these people, all these type A people, and towards the end of the week, you're stressed and you're tired and, you're just ready to be done. I'll say this past Saturday, I got a text message from an officer who had nominated a family. And I made everyone in the room stop because it was hustle bustle. I said, hey, we all need to hear this. And I said, I just got a text. And she said that she received a call from the family that she nominated. And the lady called her and she said, I just want to thank you so much because now I can buy tires for my car. Mm-hmm. And we needed to hear that because it brings us back down to why we know why we're doing it. But I think in the hustle and bustle of it, it's like becomes mechanical, So it's stories like that that really, I think, remind us why we're here.
I mean, I've seen the photos of the big warehouse boxes wall to wall, and you said that's about a week and a half process. Yes, but there is also, I mean, it's kind of a year-round deal as far as gathering all the information, these referrals and processing those, right? And just kind of, I know December is just the busiest part, but it is a year-round operation.
Yeah, you have different, we have meetings to schedule certain things, and then you have to apply for Toys for Tots at a certain time. And then there's other beneficiaries that, they've got deadlines for certain things. So we just have to maintain that.
Yeah, I know when Jason and I were working together with that, his phone would start ringing nonstop, and I'm sure Angela's would as well at about, mid-August, because that's about the time we'd start gearing up and, talking back and forth. Because the benefactors as well, they're trying to schedule out their Christmas parties, they're trying to schedule out where are we going, and then sometimes there's a mad dash to the end before the Kindness of the Meadows Foundation. We would be like a week out and not have a warehouse to work out of. And there's some great people, Serve Pro and some other businesses that really helped us out because it was beg, borrowing, and dealing because they're in their Christmas push too, right? So there's a lot of people who just don't have the warehouse space that they would have, say, in July because they're doing their Christmas push too. So and that's just a testament to like all the officers, man. They're just such great people who work with the Santa Cops program. We have guys from patrol. We have guys from special units. Everybody takes their rank off when they come into work, and they want to do good. And especially for the ladies in some of the previous warehouses that we worked in, there was barely running water. There was no heat, and for them to endure that and then come back the next year, that says a lot to who they really are as people.
Can you mention some of the donors that over the years that have helped?
Yeah, the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce has been really helpful. Chris Hawkins and through the Margarita Society, she's been amazing. I tell you what, Joe, the Neon Cowboy used to do a huge drive for us, and they would drop it off at Southeast.
One of Megan's frequent stops.
Yeah. She had a wedding
she used
reception
to work there.
Yeah.
Waitress.
Yeah. The Circle Grill was somebody that Chuck Young met, 100 years ago, and they've given to us every year. It's right there at Buckner and 30, and families come in and they'll bring one toy, set it at the front at the tree. So, and then, like I said, the Margarita Society, they've been really with us from the beginning, and just so many more small businesses like PetSmart will give us like little dog toys and stuff like that. People just hear about us and they'll bring by, hey, could you use this? And the answer is always yes. Yeah, of course we could. Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah.
We don't. We have trouble with electronics, high dollar electronics. So if you're looking to donate, we generally try to keep it focused on actual toys the kids can play with. Plus, we don't want there to be a disparity. Like if one kid gets 4 toys and the kid next door who's also in need gets a PlayStation 5, it can create issues for us, and it's hard to store that stuff, and it's hard to value it when it comes to like who do you give it to and who's the quote unquote most deserving. So if you're looking to donate, toys for children would be great. And we would also like just keep your hearts and minds open, because all those 5-year-olds have 12-year-old brothers and sisters, and we generally need donations for them as well. So we appreciate that.
Speaking of that, if I'm listening to this show and I want to help, I want to volunteer, or I want to donate, or I want to give, how can they go about that?
Yeah, so most everybody contacts me or through Facebook. We have a social media Facebook. We also have an email address. And so, but most of the time it's just, I end up getting phone calls. They get phone calls. Megan's gotten phone calls. Word of mouth gets spread on who is kind of working on everything. And
go ahead and put your phone number out.
Yeah. Okay. No, but our officers too are amazing. Last year we had a special request for a wheelchair. There was a family that needed a wheelchair. And I'm like, oh man, we don't get stuff like that donated. And what can I do? So I went on to our association page and just put it out there. I was thinking I'll get, somebody's grandmother's that doesn't use it anymore or whatever, that's all. And I had an officer contact me and he was like, where do I send it? I just bought one. And, that was great. And he texted me again this year and he said, keep me in mind for something special. And so we had a request. It was a family. They had 5 kids of their own, and then they were fostering a newborn that was another family member's. And they requested a car seat and a stroller. So I just hit him up and I was like, hey, is this something you'd like to do? And he was like, it's done. And it was delivered. I mean, it's just things like that, people like that, they just really amaze you. We see such bad in this world. It's nice to have things like that.
Yeah, you just had your delivery day. Can you tell us just about how that went this past Saturday?
It went good. It's hectic, and I'm very OCD. I try not to be a control freak, but I can't say I'm not. My deal is I want every single box to get out the door. If an officer wanted to personally deliver it, I want to make sure that they got their box, because we have officers that come and just say, hey, give me something from my channel. Because that's important to that officer. If they put on there that they want to deliver it, then that it's important to them. And so I just, you can ask these guys. I yell at them and make sure that I know what number is going out the door so that I can mark it down. Nobody goes out that door unless it's highlighted off my list. So, but yeah, the officers come and they grab their boxes and then they take them out into the community and they deliver them. And then, I'm one of those, I kind of like being on the inside. I don't like being out there. And so I just like being
You're behind the scenes operator.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can't be in control when you're out there.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Too much. Well, I know. I did see like all the command staff was out there participating. That is common here in DPD. Like we have all our command staff helping out on this.
It was nice to see them, yes. Them to come out and help load cars and help load boxes. Yeah, we get support from them, and that was very nice.
Steven, do you go out and actually in the field, or you hang back with the boss here?
I'm behind the boss here on this one.
You're just surrounded by redheads.
Yeah,
dominating.
It's tough, but I endure, Joe. We generally will stay in the warehouse. And then many times, mostly the uniformed officers will go out, and they do. They're the ones who drop it off, which is important for our community, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. See a uniform in a squad car. Yeah. About roughly how many uniform officers fan out to bring these gifts?
I would say dozens. They do a really good job. Kevin and Christina work for us at Santa Cops, and they're NPOs, and so they have connections there. And I'll tell you, Willie Ford, he's always so good at making that right phone call at the right time. I mean, there's
that man. He can ask anybody for anything and they'll do it.
Yeah,
he's an amazing force.
He's so good at just organizing things too.
Absolutely.
He really is.
Just moving people en masse. He's good.
And he's my traffic Nazi. I love it.
Yes.
This year he told me he was going to be gone to Spain, and I about flipped out. But he passed it down to Kevin, who did a wonderful job.
Yeah, he did a really good job as well. Willie's just like I was saying earlier about how you just take your rank off, right? He shows up and he just puts his work in. Like he'll show up, he'll go back to Central or wherever and do his work and come back and he's that what do you need guy. And every year at the end of whatever we're doing, because he's been on there longer than I have, every year at the end of whatever it is we're doing, you're like, man, we couldn't have done that without Willie because he did X. And it was just every year he just comes up with the right thing.
Well, he's another one of those guys that works all day long.
Right.
He's got his normal job. He's got 5 other jobs that he's working on. Then he's got whatever he's volunteering with. He's just always doing something and just – I don't know if that man ever sleeps.
Yeah, after Santa Cops, he does. He goes down to Paul Quinn and he does a lot of stuff down there and does gives out toys down there too. I mean, he doesn't stop. He's amazing. Yeah. So other ways that people can help out is we have an Amazon wish list and we also have a Give Butter account. Those can all be found on our social media page, Santa Cops, and. I want to give a shout out specifically to my cohort here, Stephen Prince, because he also does all of our financials, which is a huge task. He has to do all of our taxes. And so he's typically working from now until, I guess, April tax season, going through all of the receipts from all of our shopping that we've done and just doing all of that work. He really doesn't get enough praise for that. So I just want to say thank you for all that too.
Well, we definitely appreciate you, Kristen, because the transition from iteration 2 to iteration 3 was seamless because you and Jason and Angela work so well together.
Yeah, I've known Stephen his entire career since he was a rookie, and this is the most I've ever heard him speak in this setting.
Yeah, I'm out of words for the rest of the day, so be silent.
Yeah, some people have to get their words in for the day, and they overuse them.
Yeah, that's right.
Stephen, you had some people you wanted to mention?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, it started, with Chuck and Jason and Angela, and the example they set for me as a young officer was just really good. In many years past, Shelby Novak, who works in Channel 5, she was, relentless with the shopping and things like that. She does that job, and now Melanie does that job at a level that I just can't, right? Like, I'm just not built for shopping, and so when they go, we kind of fight back and forth about how much money we can spend, but they're always looking for the right deal. I'm talking like them and Kristen and Megan will go all over the Metroplex and be like, hey, we heard there's a good deal here, so we're going to go there. And that's all stuff that I'm just not built for.
Yeah, I can't see you at Townies Mall walking around.
No. They go to the $5 with Five Belows and stuff like that, and that's the most defeating thing for me to do. Like I just say, I'll show up.
You're too high tone for that.
Yeah.
Just bring me the receipts.
Yeah, just bring me the receipts and tell me what box to move. But we have 2 young guys named Brian and Alex. They're both patrol guys. Brian is actually a detective now, but he was in patrol. He worked in CRT first.
I know them. They work out at Legends in Rockwall.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They're our heroes.
Yeah, man, hey, can you go pick up this? Can you go load the box truck with all these boxes and bring them back? Can you throw these things away? And they're taking pictures with smiles, man. Like, I have to admit, when I was doing their job, I don't know if I had that much smile in me.
You had failed smile.
Yeah, I had failed smile. Yeah, I would do it because it was necessary. It seems like these guys are really enjoying life and doing their jobs well. And you love to see that in the young guys.
Good. I have to tell them. I'll have to tell them when this comes out. I see them every weekend.
Oh, good. Yeah. They're super nice guys.
This was Brian's second year, and he brought Alex on, and we don't tell them anything. And so Alex's first day was at the storage unit when you open the door in the box truck. And he got to us and I was like, so are you going to stick around?
I thought you were going to say you put bags over the head, drove them to the location and took it off like a Sicario.
Don't tell anybody. Kevin Hayden and his partner, Christina, they both work for NPOs, but they're the ones who can really foster relationships as well. That's always been so good. Kevin does another spinoff where he's goes with a barbershop over in South Dallas, and they talk to kids about future careers.
Nice.
They do their own toy handout, and that's just all that's what they want to do. I mean, they're good at the MPO job, but they just excel at it because that's what they want to do. And then there's Crystal Romero, who just joined us this year. And then I've talked about Sergeant Lily Ford, but Tracy Starks, she's another one who came on. She was doing this way before I got here.
She's been like 26 years now.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about people with rank, like Daniel Mulvihill, he's lieutenant now, if you can believe that. And then
Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah, Lieutenant Dan. And then or even Tracy, who's got so much time on, and she just comes
she's
in.
been at Southeast forever.
Yeah, she makes good food and brings it in for us and all that stuff. So things you can't quantify. People just show up and do the right thing. I mean, Melanie, she works Channel 5 Patrol, and we pull her out of her comfort zone all the time. We've made a sport of it, but every time we ask her to do something, she does her absolute best to jump in there and just do the best job she can. The DPA cook team, every year they show up, and they make really good food, and they get up before we do to make that food and make it happen for that. Isabel who worked up in the gang unit for however long, man. She was another person who was here before I got here, and she just shows up every year and works and helps out. So, help me if there's anybody I'm forgetting. 'Cause I don't
Dan
want to.
Russell.
Yeah, Dan Russell's his first year, and he was clutch, man. He again, sergeant, but comes in and does all the grunt work and helps organize.
I saw him on that tiny bicycle in that picture.
Yeah.
And then, like Christian said, the command staff, they showed up in force on Saturday, and it was good to see them. And they jumped in and helped put toys in the car. So some of them will go deliver and stuff like that, just because they know why we're here, right?
Well, there's not a lot more rewarding of a mission when you think about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and it was shocking, in all honesty, to see how much command staff showed up at Santa Cops on Saturday, because there were 4 other big events within the city.
Yeah.
They had the Snowball Express going on that they had to go to, the FC Dallas. They were all these things that they had to go to, and I honestly didn't think that we would get that presence. And so when they showed up, it was a nice surprise.
No, I did see that. I saw all the different events that Chief Igo was at several events. I kept seeing different posts and emails come out, and I went, "Damn, he's all
Busy
over
day.
the place."
It was very busy.
And the Neon Cowboy had the grand reopening, and Megan was out there for
Yes.
that.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
So,
It was our first night dancing as a premiere.
Nice.
Then Chief Rhodes, I know, Terrence Rhodes. I know that's not going to be surprising, but he shows up almost every year and helps out, and he's pretty plugged in with us. So.
And Chief Reyes has kind of been my mentor since I've started. Any questions that I had, anything that I needed, if I needed something approved, he'd get it done for me.
And I will speak on having command staff support. Because you can only get so much support for at that level.
Yeah, I think going back to what Kent was saying, that set the precedent between Chuck and Jason and Angela, is that their reputation really did help them. One thing they've taught us, especially in this age, is that relationships matter. Like picking up the phone and making phone calls, who you are the rest of the year matters, and just kind of those personal relationships. So when they would call a command staff member, their professional and personal relationship would precede them. So that makes things go a lot easier. They weren't calling in favors. They were calling a guy that knew that they could trust. If Jason was saying something or Angela was saying something, they could trust it, and they weren't just trying to get away with something,
To wrap this up, I kind of want to give all of you an opportunity to kind of give some final thoughts on your why when it comes to this great program, the Santa Cop.
Yeah, my why is just I want to honestly make these kids happy. I want to see them smile. I want them to have something good and a positive interaction with officers. I think we need that more. Some of these families have been through a lot of trauma, and some may just be that their families have fallen on hard times, but either way, our mission is to make sure that they have a good Christmas. And I've brought my son into it. I actually bring him on delivery days because I want him to know, hey, what we have is lucky and we're helping others. And this is what you need to do in life. Like, you need to be a good person. You need to help. And we're lucky for what we have. So I hope that passes on to him.
I think the biggest thing for me ultimately is that when you're out there, especially in patrol, you can get overwhelmed and almost vapor locked because there's just so many bad things happening around you. And then you're like, what can you even do against this? This is a really good opportunity for officers and for us to see it, that this is the ability not just to give back, but to do good moving forward, right? Like, hey, this is an all-around terrible situation, but there is one thing I can do for them. And that's bring a little bit of joy, a little bit of help on Christmas, and that can turn the tides for a family who's just hanging on by a thread. And I think that's really cool that officers take that time to really like invest in the community, and choose basically just invest in the good part of what we can be.
I think Steve and Kristen already nailed most of our whys, but to go one step further, so many of these families were nominated on a bad day. Our officers interacted with them on a bad call, or something has gone wrong in their day, and that's why the police were there. And that's a lot of the ways that these families see us. We're only there on the bad days, so this is our opportunity to come in a positive light, to kind of have a chance to feed into these children early in life that they can have a positive interaction with us, that these officers do want to help and not only see you on your bad days, so that when they need us later, there's this little memory of that positive interaction that says they do want to be there and they don't just want to do the negative parts of the job.
Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. Down when you're lonely, I'll pull you up. Life leaves you heavy when the going gets tough. I'll be your shoulder, together we'll run up from the bottom, yeah, we'll rise above. Hey brother, hey sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far the sun and the moon, I'll never give up on you. Sister, I'll never give up on you. Hey Mrs., hey mister, I'll see this all the way through. No matter how far, for the gold and the blue, I'll never give up.